Prithu's going back home. Read few verses. Vidaya krityam radini jalapluta दत्वोदकं भर्तुरुदार कर्मणा नत्वा दिवीस्थां त्रिदशां स्त्री परित्या विवेश वहनिं दयाति भ्रातृपादो. After this, the queen executed. So Prithu Maharaj has passed away. And what did his wife? What is his wife's name?
Archie.
Archie. Archie took the body of Prithu Maharaj on a hilltop. She was lamenting for some time, and then she lit the funeral pyre. So then, what did she do after that? That's what these verses are saying. After this, the queen executed the necessary funerary functions and offered oblations of water. After bathing in the river, she offered obeisances to various demigods situated in the sky in the different planetary systems. She then circumambulated the fire and, while thinking of the lotus feet of her husband, entered its flames. So she also entered into the fire, just like Madri did after Pandu's passing away. So she also entered into the fire. The entrance of a chaste wife into the flames of the pyre of her dead husband is known as Sahagaman, which means dying with the husband. This system of Sahagaman had been practiced in Vedic civilization from time immemorial. Very difficult to do because you are burning yourself alive. It's very painful. They say of all kinds of death, death by burning is the most painful. Even after the British period in India, this practice was rigidly observed, but soon it degraded to the point that even when the wife was not strong enough to enter the fire of her dead husband, the relatives would force her to enter. So this practice, Prabhupada is saying, was going on for a long time, and during British time also this was observed, but later on it became involuntary. It was voluntary, but then it became involuntary, means they were being forced to enter the fire. Thus, this practice had to be stopped. But even today, there are still some solitary cases where a wife will voluntarily enter the fire and die with her husband. Even after 1940, we personally knew of a chaste wife who died in this way. So they would do it because the pain of living separately from the husband was so unbearable that now we may say, well, this is suicide because you're ending your life. Why doesn't somebody chant Hare Krishna? And of course, actually, Krishna is the real husband of everyone. So why they have to do like this? I don't know all the answers, but they were. It is mentioned that the wife was feeling so much separation. She was so much attached to her husband that she wanted to die with her husband. And thus, if the husband is a devotee, then she will go where the husband is gone, right, in the next life, something like that. Okay. If anybody has any comments, they can share. Otherwise, we'll just. This is not practical for this age right now. It's not possible. Although Prabhupada said even in 1940, he saw some instance like that. But okay, it does not apply to us. Vilokya anukatam sadvim prithum vira varam patim tushtubur varada dever deva patnya sahasraha. After observing this brave act performed by the chaste wife Archi, the wife of great King Prithu, many thousands of wives of the demigods, along with their husbands, offered prayers to the queen, for they were very much satisfied. At that time, the demigods were situated on the top of Mandara hill, and all their wives began to shower flowers on the funeral pyre and began to talk among themselves as follows. The wives of the demigods said, "All glories to Queen Archie." We can see that this queen of great King Prithu, the emperor of all the kings of the world, has served her husband with mind, speech, and body, exactly as the goddess of fortune serves the supreme personality of Godhead, Yagneshu or Vishnu. In this verse, the words Yagnesham Shrir Vadhur Iva indicate that Queen Archie served her husband just as the goddess of fortune serves the supreme personality of Godhead, Vishnu. We can observe that even in the history of the world, this world, when Lord Krishna, the supreme Vishnu, was ruling over Dwarka, Queen Rukmini, who was the chief of all Krishna's queens, used to serve Lord Krishna personally, in spite of having many hundreds of maidservants to assist her. So she was very attentive to every detail. Rukmini was very attentive to every detail of Krishna's comfort. Even though there were so many maidservants in the house, she would personally take care in every aspect. Similarly, the goddess of fortune in the Vaikuntha, like Gokuleshwar was saying, she would stand with the towel and all. Similarly, the goddess of fortune in Vaikuntha planet also serves Narayan personally. Although there are many thousands of devotees prepared to serve the Lord. This practice is also followed by the wives of the demigods, and in days past, the wives of men followed this same principle. In Vedic civilization, the husband and wife were not separated by such man made laws as divorce. We should understand the necessity for maintaining family life in human society and should thus abolish this artificial law known as divorce. The husband and wife should live in Krishna consciousness and follow in the footsteps of Lakshmi Narayan or Krishna Rukmini. In this way, peace and harmony can be possible within this world. Okay, so husband and wife should live peacefully without divorce and should serve Krishna together. That is what Prabhupada is saying in this. Of course, it's like easier said than done in Kali Yuga because not everybody has false ego and not everybody is inclined to devotional service also. Sometimes the wife is inclined, the husband is not inclined. The husband is inclined, the wife is not inclined. So, but as far as possible, and then naturally there is separation at Vanaprastha. They can go together and then just devote their life, and then finally sannyas is there. So ultimately, nobody can stay with anybody together. So before death comes, one voluntarily separates. That is also there. One voluntarily detaches, so that they can remember Krishna only, no, not anybody else. So we may think here, well, Queen Archie, she was remembering King Prithu, she has great attachment. But Prithu was a Shaktavesh avatar, so it was special case. So, but generally it is like that at the end of life, one can remember Narayan. Otherwise, any attachment to this world will bring us back to this world. Prabhupada also writes that, if the man is attached to the wife and the wife is then next life, in the story of King Puranjana, we see that. Right? They become woman, man becomes woman, woman becomes man. Like that. So, that is also there. So, but then somebody may say, well, what if the spouse is a devotee and one is attached to the devotee? So, that may be an exception, but there is always this bodily connection, and that's why there is always this attachment on the bodily platform. So that uh, Kunti Devi says like that, but she is saying because, like Kunti Devi says that, please sever my attachment of ties for the Pandavas, right? Because she was thinking she is being partial by not allowing Krishna to go to Dwarka, where they also need his association there. So, okay, so the demigod showered flowers. Saishanunam vrajati urdhvam anuvainyam patim sati pasyatasman atityarchir Durvibhavyena karmana. The wives of the demigods continued. Just see how this chaste lady, Archi, by dint of her inconceivable pious activities, is still following her husband upwards as far as we can see. So Prithu Maharaj is going back to Godhead and Archi is also going. So maybe that's both Prithu Maharaj's airplane and the airplane carrying Queen Archi were passing out of the vision of the ladies of the higher planetary systems. These ladies were simply astonished to see how Prithu Maharaj and his wife achieved such an exalted position. Although they were the wives of the denizens of the higher planetary system and Prithu Maharaj was the inhabitant of an inferior planetary system, the king, along with his wife, passed beyond the realms of the demigods and went upwards to Vaikuntha Lok. And without that, also, anybody can go back to Vaikuntha. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, anybody who takes shelter of Krishna, of course, here because Queen Archi is attached to her husband Prithu, who is a pure devotee, he's a Shaktavesh avatar, he's an empowered incarnation. So she is going where Prithu Maharaj is going. So if we also become attached to Srila Prabhupada or to pure devotees and their service, then we go where they are there. And so we'll also go back home, back to Godhead, like that. The word Urdhvam, upwards, is significant here, for the ladies speaking were from the higher planetary systems, which include the moon, sun, and Venus up to Brahmalok, or the highest planet. Beyond Brahmalok is the spiritual sky. So they were traveling in the airplane beyond the planet of the demigods. So Prabhupada is describing beyond this material world is the Brahma Jyoti, and then Brahma Jyoti, in that there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets. And in that spiritual sky, there are innumerable Vaikuntha lokas. Thus, the word Urdhvam indicates that the Vaikuntha planets are beyond or above these material planets. And it was to these Vaikuntha planets that Prithu Maharaj and his wife were going. This also indicates that when Prithu Maharaj and his wife Archi abandoned their material bodies in the material fire, they immediately developed their spiritual bodies and entered into spiritual airplanes which could penetrate the material elements and reach the spiritual sky. Since they were carried by two separate airplanes, it may be concluded that even after being burned in the funeral pyre, they remained separate individual persons. So they had two different airplanes going. In other words, they never lost their identity or became void as imagined by impersonalists. The ladies in the higher planetary systems were capable of seeing both downwards and upwards. When they looked down, they could see that the body of Prithu Maharaj was being burned and that his wife, Archi, was entering into the fire. And when they looked upwards, they could see how they were being carried in two airplanes to the Vaikuntha Lokas. So downwards, where the body was burning, and on when they looked upwards, they could see in their spiritual bodies they were going. All of this is possible simply by Durvibhavyena Karmana, inconceivable activity. Prithu Maharaj was a pure devotee and his wife Queen Archi simply followed her husband. Thus they can be both considered pure devotees and thus they are capable of performing inconceivable activities. Such activities are not possible for ordinary men. Indeed, ordinary men cannot even take to the devotional service of the Lord. Nor can ordinary women maintain such vows of chastity and follow their husbands in all respects. A woman does not need to attain high qualifications, but if she simply follows in the footsteps of her husband, who must be a devotee, then both husband and wife attain liberation and are promoted to the Vaikuntha Lokas. This is evinced by the inconceivable activities of Maharaj Prthu and his wife. Okay, so
But in case of when the Pandavas got to know that Lord Krishna go back to his spiritual, his own abode, and when they meditate on his form, they didn't took Subhadra and Draupadi, right? So in that purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that everyone has to fly their own plane at the end of their life. And they then Draupadi and Subhadra meditate on the form of Krishna because that is the ultimate thing, right? One has to fix their mind on Krishna. One can attain this position. I mean, here it's a different thing because
which purport is that? Can
Maharaj.
you share the purport
Uh, I have to
later
look
on?
at it. Yeah,
Later
later
on.
on. Okay, so ultimately, one has to fix the mind on Krishna. Is of course it goes there, and everybody, because every jiva, I don't know why they said that. As you're saying, I was also thinking that wife enters in that. Every jiva has a connection with Lord, right? Um, so every jiva is different, and everybody has to do their own, attain their own spiritual strength as well, right? But
Yeah, I think the idea here is that Prithu Maharaj is a pure devotee, and if you are attached to a pure devotee, then you go where the pure devotee is going, because you want to be according to your desires where you want to go. So if you are attached to Krishna also, then you go, I mean, to take part in Krishna's pastimes. If you are hankering to be in Krishna's pastimes, then you go. So according to our desires, whoever's association we want, that's where they go. Sometimes they say, right, that the grandfather dies and then he's born as the in the same family because of his attachment to the family. He may come as his, or to the house, in the same house they are born as a cockroach or something like that. We hear some stories like that. So because their attachment wherever they like to be, that's how it is
Yeah,
mentioned.
serving a pure devotee. Krishna also says, those who are my direct devotees are not my devotees. Those who are devotees of my servants are actually my devotees. So if the husband is a pure devotee and if you're serving that husband, then you're getting all the benefit. You share the spiritual credits of the husband, half of the spiritual credits.
Yeah, that's mentioned like that the wife shares in half of the. And if the wife is a pure devotee and the husband is not a pure devotee, I don't know how that works also. That should also work the other way. But generally it is said like this. So, um, okay. So, but you
Yes, to
can,
the Mars.
one can be attached to a pure devotee, not in a relationship also, like, one can be attached to.
Hey, I have a question. Hare Krishna. So you're not supposed to attach yourself to Krishna?
Yeah, attach yourself to Krishna or you attach to the pure devotee is the same thing.
Yeah, if you take care of your husband who is a pure devotee, take care of his whatever body by providing him food and other things, Krishna is very pleased. So we actually get more advanced when we serve a devotee, and it may not be a relationship, right? Bodily relationship. Serve other pure devotees, and Krishna is very pleased.
But it
Yeah,
is okay to serve Krishna, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
So, yeah, this is like what I was going to say. I forgot something I was going to say. So, anyhow, so according to our attachments, we go, and obviously there is some connection because there is a relationship in that sense that because you're now this is my husband, this is my wife, though. So there is that my thing is there. So that's why in the Varnashram at some point, even Kardam Muni he left, right? Kardam Muni and what is that? Who was he married to?
devotee.
Devahuti. Even though his son was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So like that also is there. So which Prabhupada writes in many purports like that also. That
Wait,
one
wait,
should
but aren't you supposed to be a sannyasi in the last quarter of your life? How can you
correct.
serve your devotee spouse if you are a sannyasi?
Sannyasi. Correct. Yeah, that's at yeah, the last stage of life. That is. So then yeah, I mean both become devotees, pure devotees, and then they both go back home back to God. So ultimately you have to become a pure devotee without free from all material desires. Then only you can go back home back to God. That's the idea. So
And we have some examples where, like Tukaram, He was such a pure devotee, but his wife was not a devotee. However, she was serving Tukaram, and one time she was bringing food for Tukaram, and she got a thorn in her feet and couldn't move. And Lord came himself to remove that thorn. He was just so pleased that, oh, she's serving my devotee. So she was able to see the Lord, but Tukaram, it took him time to see the Lord. But his wife, who was not a devotee, saw the Lord first. Same, I think, with who's that who was writing this poem where Krishna touches the feet of Radharani? Jaidev Goswami. His wife saw Krishna. Like, Krishna came and ate her food when he was away having a bath. So these are some examples where the wives who are not devotees, they are getting benefited just serving their husband who are devotees.
And
But
then there's a famous example.
Jayadev's wife Padmavati was devotee because she was Devdasi at the Jagannath temple. She was devotee.
Yeah, but his wife, her husband was a greater devotee. Maybe he was doing more services to Krishna. She was doing more service to the husband more than serving Krishna.
Yeah, but we don't know who is greater devotee other than Lord himself. But Padmavati was a devotee. Actually, it was Jagannath's wish that Padmavati's father give marriage of his daughter to Jayadev.
So, yeah, I was going to say something. Um, okay, forgot. Anyhow, so serving great devotees opens the door to liberation. So, Mahat Seva Dwara Mahu Ahur Vimukti. And so, we serve um, our gurus. That there are so many devotees in ISKCON. It's not like you have to be in like a relationship. You can serve without a relationship also. Narad Muni served all the Bhakti Vedantas, right? And he got, he became a pure devotee in his next life. So, so whatever the situation, one has to serve the devotees basically, whether at home or outside or okay.
I think in case of that, I just forgot the name of the Maya demon, right? Krishna wanted to kill, but since he served the Pandavas, right, he helped him to build the kingdom, right? So Krishna forgave him. Otherwise, if he decided to kill someone, he don't take this back. In the case of Gajendra and that crocodile also, right? Some devotee are saying that he is holding the leg of elephant, Gajendra, who is devotee of Krishna. So the first Krishna, when Vishnu came, he killed the crocodile. So first liberation, first he got, by Krishna, by Lord, right? So yeah, it says that there are many devotees. I was hearing that someone posted that uh, lecture from Sadhu Sangha recently that you have attended. Mukunda Prabhu was saying that, right? Because pure devotees are very dear to Krishna because they take so much risk. Because Krishna can do, because he is capable of doing all these things by himself. We are reading a day before yesterday also that Krishna is self-sufficient. He don't need anybody's help, but he gives service to their devotees. So I mean that's the devotees who know that I am very tiny. I have a limited power and knowledge and all these, but I'm taking risk for Krishna. Everything taking the risk. So if we serve such a pure devotee, that's a this is a instruction by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, right? We are servant of the servant of Krishna. So that one is more dear to Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that.
Tushushu Shraddhadhanasya Vasudev Katharichi. Then Matseva Vipra Punya Tirthanishimna. He quoted this verse. We will get taste for hearing the Krishna Katha if we serve a pure devotee. Like Narad Muni is mentioned.
Yes, service to Actually, Prabhupada says service to devotees is greater than service to Krishna. Sometimes he writes like that in many purports. So, yeah, Gopi Bhartu Padukamalaya Dasa Dasa Das. We are the servant of the servant. And yeah, okay, so the next verse. Tesham durapam kim tvanyam martyanam bhagavad padam. And I was saying that service also means there is two types of service we say. What are the two types? One is
Vani and
Vani
Vapu.
Seva and Vapu Seva.
Vani and Vapu. So generally we think service means only Vapu, but service also means Vani. So we can serve Srila Prabhupada also. Even though we are not serving, we are not directly his, but we can serve Srila Prabhupada if we take his instructions and then apply it in our life. Then we are serving Srila Prabhupada. Tesham durapam kim tvanyan martyanam bhagavad padam bhuvi lolayashu ye vai naishkarmyam sadayant yuta. In this material world, every human being has a short span of life. But those who are engaged in devotional service go back home, back to Godhead. For they are actually on the path of liberation. For such persons, there is nothing which is not available. So Kali Yuga means we are going to die soon. Of course, for us, 100 years it seems like a long life. But at some point, you say, I don't want to live after 80. It's so bad situation. My body is giving so much trouble. So how much healthy life we have is only very few years. Because once the disease or something, some knee problem, this problem, back problem, all this starts, then it becomes problematic. So we have some span of life where we are healthy. And overall, our lifespan is also very short. So time is short and we have a long way to go because there are so many anarthas in the heart. So we have to accelerate our devotional service, as Prabhupada says in the Ayur Harati Vai Pumsam. Every rising and setting of the sun, our imperceptibly we are moving closer to death. We don't even realize how our time is ticking. And so every day we are supposed to think, yes, I'm one day closer to death. I've got this human form of life after so many species of life I've been through, struggling in so many species of life. I've got this golden opportunity of the human form of life. So let me do my best and try to become completely, fully Krishna conscious. So for such persons, there is nothing which is not available. So let's see. In Bhagavad Gita 9:33, Lord Krishna says, Anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasva mam. This is anityam, this is material world he's describing. The Lord here declares that this material world is full of miseries, asukham, and at the same time is very flickering, anityam. So even Archie had to die, right? I mean, going into the funeral pyre and burning is not so easy. It's like, so in this world there is so much misery. And at the same time is very flickering, anityam. Today it is there, tomorrow it is not there. Therefore, one's only duty is to engage himself in devotional service. So only thing we have to do, everything else is entangling and waste of time. This is the best end to which human life can be put. Those devotees who are constantly engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord achieve not only all material benefits but also all spiritual benefits. For at the end of life they go back home, back to Godhead. So devotee has no scarcity because Krishna takes care of him. Their destination is described in this verse as Bhagavad Padam. The word Padam means abode and Bhagavad means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus the destination of the devotees is the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Samashritaye padapallavaplavam mahat padam Mahat Padam Punya. What is it?
Desho Murari Bhavam Buddhirvatsa Param Padam 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 Yadvipadam Natisham.
So Padam, I saw Padam. So it is said that the devotee who has taken shelter of the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, for him the material world becomes very small, like water contained in a calf's hoof print. Material world is very vast, this ocean. You can't cross this ocean. But if you take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, then they cross this material. You can step over this material ocean very easily. Means you can step over all the obstacles and everything. If you take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, then Krishna will support, Krishna will protect, Krishna will give intelligence, Krishna will help surmount all the obstacles. And then we will go back to the Supreme Lord's abode. And that is where we are meant to live, not this place where there is danger at every step. In this material world, there is misery at every step or danger at every step. We are not meant to live in this place. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, material world is not a fit place for a gentleman to live. So many things can happen here. And of course, in one sense, material world is spiritual world for the pure devotee. It is only material as long as you don't see it in a proper way. But otherwise, it is spiritual world if you use it in everything in Krishna's service and give up desire for material enjoyment. Then it is spiritual world. In this verse, the word Naishkarmyam, which means transcendental knowledge, is also significant. Unless one comes to the platform of transcendental knowledge and offers devotional service to the Lord, one is not perfect. Generally, the process of jnana, yoga, and karma are executed life after life before one gets a chance to render pure devotional service to the Lord. This chance is given by the grace of a pure devotee, and it is in this way only that one can actually attain liberation. So, Prabhupada has given us the opportunity to become pure devotees and get out of this weakened material existence and attain liberation. In the context of this narration, the wives of the demigods repented because although they had the opportunity of birth in a higher planetary system, a lifetime spanning millions of years and all material comforts, they were not as fortunate as Prithu Maharaj and his wife, who were actually surpassing them. So they were in the higher planetary systems and they had a lot of material comforts and opulence. But they were lamenting, oh, we are not so fortunate. They are going back home, back to Godhead, but we are stuck here in this material world. In other words, Prithu Maharaj and his wife scorned promotion to the higher planetary systems and even to Brahmalok because the position which they were attaining was incomparable. In Bhagavad Gita 8:16, the Lord affirms, A Brahma Bhuvana Lokaha Punaravartino Arjuna, from the highest planet in the material world to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death takes place. So unless you go back to the spiritual world, no matter where you go in this material world, you have to die. In other words, even if one goes to the highest planet, Brahmalok, he has to return to the miseries of birth and death. In the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 9:21, Lord Krishna also asserts, Tetam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam shine punyamartyalokam vishanti. Okay, when they have thus enjoyed heavenly sense pleasure, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, after exhausting the results of pious activities, one has to come again to the lower planetary systems and begin a new chapter of pious activities. So, our life is a mixture of pious and sinful activities. So, we get some happiness and then we get sorrow. Then maybe the sorrow becomes less, then some happiness comes. Or when the sorrow becomes less, then the happiness is there. So, like that, it's a mixture of happiness and distress. And then eventually we have to die. So, basically, that's what this life is all about. Sometimes we have health issues, sometimes we have legal problems, sometimes we have financial problems, relationships problems, and then it goes away. Then again, it becomes better a little bit. Then we feel very happy. Then again, something else happens. So, like that. Our life is like that. Thus, after exhausting the results of pious activities, one has to come again to the lower planetary systems and begin a new chapter of pious. So we should not be carried away by material happiness. That, oh, this is very nice situation I have, materially speaking, because no material situation will remain same. It will all change with time. The body will change, diseases will come in the body. Right now I'm healthy, but 5 years down the line, you don't know what kind of disease will manifest in the body and what will happen. So right now I may think, oh, I have such a nice healthy body, and I have a lot of money. Let me enjoy while I can. So yeah, you can enjoy, but then bad times are coming. So like that, it's so right. We say when it is healthy, then what is that? We should practice Krishna consciousness very nicely. What is the thing you say?
More,
One.
more you sweat during peace, less you will bleed during war.
Yeah. So when time is right and it's good times, then let us become very fixed up in Krishna consciousness, because bad time is coming for everybody. So nobody is going to be spared. As Prabhupada says, don't think this will not happen. This will not happen to you. This old age is going to come if you live that long, and disease and all these things. So it is coming. It is therefore said. So right now is the time. They say now. So we should give up all our. When we have good time, then we are distracted by material desires, because now life is good. There are so many nice things to enjoy, and so we get distracted. And when the time becomes bad, then we say we may lament. Oh, when time was good, I did not. Now, as Shankaracharya says, in the old age, one is so much concerned about one's health, right? How to, you have some disease, and whether the disease will go away or not, what is going to happen. You have to go through some scans. If you have some disease like cancer, you have to wait from scan to see, is the disease spreading, what is going to happen, will it come back, like that. There's always anxiety. So, chinta, what is that? Vrinda.
बालस्तावत् क्रीडाशक्ता तरुणीस्तावत् तरुणीरक्ता वृद्धा तावत् चिन्तामग्ना परमे भ्रमणे कोऽपि न लग्ना. The childhood passes away in playing, and youth passes away in association with the opposite gender. And old age passes away in worrying about so many things. Hardly anybody has time to think about Krishna.
So instead of becoming attached to so many things, we should become attached to Krishna and do devotional service to become attached to Krishna. So when the time is good, then we should do devotional service. Chant Hare Krishna, remember Krishna, read Srimad Bhagavatam, share Krishna with others, like that. So that is what we want to do when we are good, so that maybe when our health becomes bad, then that attachment will still be there and we can remember Krishna. So, but when our health is good, we go on vacation and so many things here and there, and we go around so many places, non-Krishna conscious ways we try to enjoy, and then life goes. This is the whole, this has been going on in this material world for everybody. Everybody's life is like that, unless they are devotees, but everybody's life is like that. That we are going through the motions of this life and waiting for death to come, and everybody is going to die, but nobody is thinking about it, where they are going to go, and they are simply enjoying. It's like Prabhupada said, when the goats are given some grass to eat before they are slaughtered, they are very happily munching on the grass, not knowing that their time to get slaughtered is coming. So it's our like that. We are enjoying in so many ways. We are thinking, yeah, I will get this, I will possess this, I'll have this and that. So that is our situation in this material world. So Bhagavatam and all this, they are like Prabhupada is reminding us of our eternal life in the spiritual world. It is therefore said in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.12, Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhavam varjitam. The path of liberation is not at all secure unless one attains the devotional service of the Lord. Even if one is promoted to impersonal Brahmajyoti, he runs every chance of falling down into this material world. If it is possible to fall down from Brahmajyoti, which is beyond the higher planetary systems in this material world, then what can be said of the ordinary yogis and karmis who can only be elevated to higher material planets? Thus, the wives of the denizens of higher planetary systems did not very much appreciate the results of karma, jnana, and yoga. So they knew that we are like living a life in vain, and with all these comforts, they were repenting that although they got such a nice situation and life, very long life, they were not as fortunate as Prithu Maharaj and his wife, who were surpassing them because they were going back to the spiritual world. Like Vritrasur also tells Vindra, you use your thunderbolt and kill me, and you will rot here in this material world, but I will go back home, back to Godhead. Just use your thunderbolt. So he is very confident, Vritrasur. Being a pure devotee, he is very confident that he is going back home. So material world, everybody is rotting. He used that word rot. So we are rotting in this material world. Rotting means the food becomes rotten after some time. Similarly, body becomes rotten and stale. As we grow old, the fresh food becomes rotten after some time. The body, which is young and youthful, as it becomes old, it becomes rotten and like that. So we are rotting in this material world. Okay, next verse. Any person who engages himself within this material world in performing activities that necessitate great struggle, and who, after obtaining a human form of life, which is a chance to attain liberation from miseries, undertakes the difficult task of fruitive activities, must be considered to be cheated and envious of his own self. So, if we are simply doing the same things, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, like when I was hearing Amrendra Prabhu yesterday, he was saying that if you have an airplane and with the airplane you are supposed to take off, right? But if the airplane, the pilot simply goes around the airport, right, in circles, and he just goes around like a truck, then they will say, why are you taking it? Why you don't need an airplane? You just want to go around on, you're not, with the airplane you are supposed to fly in the air. So let's give you a truck instead of an airplane because you don't want to take off. Similarly, human form of life is meant to take off to Vaikuntha. But if we are simply busy in this world, with all the activities of eating, mating, sleeping, defending only, then they'll say, okay, you don't need a human body. We have many examples, such analogies like that. It's like using a Mercedes to plow a field. You use a Mercedes, or using a iPhone.
iPhone as a door stopper.
iPhone as a door stopper. Or a high court judge, he's doing the work of a clerk. Then he's demoted to the position. So human life is especially meant for self-realization. So if we don't use it for that purpose, then we are demoted. So, and we cheat ourselves. Yeah.
Also, Prabhupada gives example of using chandan trees, sandalwood trees for making fire, for cooking.
Yeah. So, like that. So, any person who engages himself within this material world in performing activities that necessitate great struggle, and who, after obtaining a human form of life, which is a chance to attain liberation from miseries, undertakes the difficult task of fruitive activities, must be considered to be cheated and envious of his own self. So we are not even benefiting. We are working hard not even to benefit ourselves. So that is nothing.
Yeah, it's the same as Nardeham Adyam, like you're committing suicide.
Yeah.
Killer of lone soul.
That's being quoted here also in the purport. Yeah. Okay, so we'll read this one verse. In this material world, people are engaged in different activities simply to achieve a little success in sense gratification. And after, at the end of it, you get little enjoyment. Like some person has a big house, right? The Ambanis in Bombay, they are the richest. They have such a big, huge house, right? The multi-story building. I don't know, I've heard about it. But they will live only in 1 or 2 rooms or 3 rooms. But they have so many rooms in the house. So, like that. So, we will eat only 2 chapatis at the end of the day. And we will lie on the small bed. But we have a whole palatial building. And so many rooms and so many things. So, like that. Of course, if you invite devotees, it's good. But like that. So, and for that feeling that I have a very big house, you have to work very hard. Unless you got inheritance or something like that. But generally, to attain little sense gratification, you have to work very hard. The karmis are engaged in performing very difficult activities. And thus they open gigantic factories, build huge cities, make big scientific discoveries, etc. In other words, they are engaged in performing very costly sacrifices in order to promote it to the higher planetary systems. So those who are in karma kanda, they are doing all these sacrifices to go to higher planetary systems to better their material standard of living. Everybody is trying to improve their standard of living, and for that, everybody is putting their hard effort. Similarly, yogis are engaged in achieving a similar goal by accepting the tedious practices of mystic yoga. So they are going through all this, asana, pranayam, and all this to ultimately get some siddhis. Jnanis are engaged in philosophical speculation in order to gain release from the clutches of material nature. So they are taxing their brain in different ways, how to get free from this. In this way, everyone is engaged in performing very difficult tasks simply for the gratification of the senses. All of these are considered to be engaged in sense gratificatory activities because they all demand some facility for material existence. Actually, the result of such activities are temporary. As Krishna himself proclaims in Bhagavad Gita 7:23, Antavattu phalam tesham. Anta means it has an end. The fruits of those who worship the demigods are limited and temporary. Thus, the fruits of the activities of the yogis, karmis, and jnanis are ephemeral. Means with the body it will end. Moreover, Krishna says, Tad bhavati alpamedasham. They are simply meant for men of small intelligence. The word Vishaya denotes sense gratification. The karmis flatly state that they want sense gratification. The yogis also want sense gratification, but they want it to a higher degree. It is their desire to show some miraculous results through the practice of yoga. Thus, they strive very hard to achieve success in becoming smaller than the smallest, or greater than the greatest, or in creating a planet like Earth, or as scientists by inventing so many wonderful machines. Similarly, so scientists are also kind of doing the work that yogis want to do. They want to invent machines which can do amazing things. So, of course, we may say, well, where will we be without the airplane, right? We are using the airplane. So, in one sense, it's not bad. It's whatever is there, we use it to become. But when we forget the goal of life and we become engaged in just simply, then it's a loss because it will not save you at the time of death. And you have to rotate in the cycle of. A big scientist can become a mouse in the next life, right? So, what gain did it? What gain did the scientist get by doing such big inventions? Sometimes people say, "Oh, we are doing it for humanity, so the future generations will, benefit." But what about you? And without God consciousness, now we have so much technology, but there is a lot of stress, depression, and things like that. Nobody's satisfied. So, similarly, the Gyanis are also engaged in sense gratification. I think I was hearing one class, one devotee was saying that, he heard one Sannyasi Devamrit Swami was saying that in 1965, when Devamrit Swami was studying, then people were saying the technology will advance so much as we move on, in through the years. So in 1960s, they were saying that you should do some what is leisure. You have to find some way to see how people can spend their time because they will have so much free time because the technology will be so advanced. They were thinking in 1960s like that. The technology will be so advanced that people will have such less work to do. So we should find out ways how to make them engage. But we see now the technology has advanced so much, but people are more busier than before, right? I mean, earlier people in villages they used to have free time and they could sit and relax. Now with this modern technology and everything, everybody is under pressure and so much stress. So there is no leisure. So sometimes we think like when this will happen, then that like that will happen and we will have so much free time. So like they
One
were
time,
saying,
SB Keshav Swami was saying this one that previously people have free time, so in that free time they use for because they think they have free time, so they can think like that. What is the purpose of life, goal of life, and they utilize that time. But nowadays, everybody has phone, and then and whenever they have time, they just they're scrolling and uh, watching media, social media, and so they don't have time to think about that. What is the actual goal and purpose of their life?
yeah, it's such a distraction, all these things. So
Even Kalakanta Prabhu was saying that the greatest problem right now is boredom.
boredom.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what to do with the time you have also. There's nothing.
If your mind is empty, then it's a devil's workshop. You destroy yourself. The free time.
And even Prabhuji, because of this technology, become people become so lazy and uh, they don't want to work, and the health conditions will deteriorate. So all this, just by a press of a button, everything they get in on their fingertips. So that is another disadvantage.
Mhm. And we have less people that are needed in workforce, right? All the grocery stores, they have the self checkout now. So less people employed.
Yeah, now
Yeah,
with
they
the
say AI is replacing a lot of the future.
robots will be there later on, so there'll be less people and AI is going to be
But social media is designed to keep you occupied and addicted.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People
people
actually become
cannot help but
depressed.
stop scrolling. It's an addiction. It's designed to be an addiction by these mega companies.
Yes, I
Mm.
exactly agree with that. It's just go.
Yeah. So people are becoming depressed using social media because they see the pictures of others, how they are enjoying, and everybody puts those pictures, right? Going on vacation and all. So depression is increasing because of social media.
And also, there people are so much making friends on social media, but they are alone in their, interaction, personal interaction with the people.
Yeah, I
So
have
Yeah, a
I
they are
have
lot.
making their
friends. Yeah,
own theories, and they are without even seeing people, without even, um, I mean, they don't know much with that friends. I think I feel like Facebook is like a surveillance camera. People know that what is going on their person's life, and I mean, you get affected or something like that, but they don't have any personal interaction or talk about their lives. So.
there's nobody to hear you. Like there is
Mm.
so many people, but nobody like really close to you, right? So yeah, so I'll just finish this purport. So here, the fruits of the demigods, those who worship the demigods, are limited and temporary. Thus, the fruits of activities of the yogis Moreover, Krishna says, Tad bhavati alpametasham. Okay, I think we read all this. The yogis also want, okay. The bhaktas, however, are not interested in sense gratificatory practices. They are simply satisfied to get an opportunity to serve the Lord. So they are getting their enjoyment in service to the Lord. Although they are satisfied in any condition, there is nothing they cannot obtain because they are purely engaged in the service of the Lord. So they are the pure devotees are deriving so much happiness in serving the Lord that they are they're not hankering for anything in this world. The wives of the demigods condemn the performance of sense gratificatory activities as vanchita, cheated. Those who are engaged and to serve the Lord, you don't need anything. You don't need money. Nothing is required. You can think of the Lord. You can chant Hare Krishna. You can hear about Krishna. So nothing, not much big arrangement is required to serve the Lord. Krishna even says, you can offer me even fruit, a little fruit, a water, a leaf. So those who are engaged are actually killing themselves. Atmaha, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:20-17. Hridehamadyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam guru karnadharam maya anukulena nabhasvateritam puman bhavabdim na taret sa atmaha. When one wants to cross a large ocean, he requires a strong boat. It is said that this human form of life is a good boat by which one can cross the ocean of nations. In human form of life, one can obtain the guidance of a good navigator, the spiritual master. One also gets a favorable wind by the mercy of Krishna, and that wind is the instructions of Krishna. The human body is the boat, the instructions of Lord Krishna are the favorable winds, and the spiritual master is the navigator. The spiritual master knows well how to adjust the sails to catch the winds favorably and steer the boat to its destination. If, however, one does not take advantage of this opportunity, one wastes the human form of life. So we got everything. We got Srila Prabhupada's books, we got the Association of Devotees, we have the human form of life, everything is there. So now we have to take our boat across this ocean of material existence. So after getting all the opportunities, if one does not take the advantage of the opportunity, then one wastes the human form of life. Wasting time and life in this way is the same as committing suicide. The word labdva apavargyam is significant in this verse because according to Jiva Goswami, apavargyam or the path of liberation does not refer to merging into the impersonal, but to salokya siddhi. Means going to the same salokyadi siddhi, which means attaining the very planet where Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. There are 5 kinds of liberation. One is called Sayujya Mukti, and one is called Sayujya Mukti, or merging into the existence of the Supreme or the impersonal Brahman effulgence. However, since there is a chance of one's falling down into the material sky from the Brahman effulgence, Srila Jiva Goswami advises that in this human form of life, one's only aim should be to go back home, back to Godhead. And you can go back to Godhead when we love the Supreme Lord, when we develop our attraction, affection for the Supreme Lord. The word savanchita indicate that once a person has obtained the human form of life, he is actually cheated if he does not make preparations to go back home, back to Godhead. So Maya actually cheats us. We have got this human form of life, and under the illusion, if we are not pursuing Krishna consciousness, then we are being cheated. The position of all non-devotees who are not interested in going back to Godhead is very much lamentable, for the human life is meant for executing devotional service and nothing else. Prabhupada gives like singular, goal of life. He says that's the only goal of life, nothing else. Not to establish a career or to make a nice situation in this material world. These all are not Of course, it can help you. If it helps the goal, then it's okay. But one can become distracted by all these things. So we spend so much time in so many things, trying to make our material situation nice, but we may miss out on going back home, back to God and service to God. So that's all. So it is very much lamentable, Prabhupada is saying. So that's why we are supposed to share this information, which we have been made fortunate by some devotees' mercy. So we are now supposed to share this information with others to make them fortunate. So, okay. So the more we feel that this is the goal of life and this is what, then, and more we feel happy, then we will want others to become happy, feel happy also. So we want to share this like with others. So preaching is a natural outcome of feeling very blissful in Krishna consciousness, because that bliss then overflows and you want to share, you want to tell others about it. Right? So, like as soon as you win a lottery, let's say you won like $50 million or $100 million, whatever it is, you will call a friend or your near and dear one. Right? You want to share that information. Oh, I got such a such nice, lottery. You don't keep it to yourself. You share it with your family and your friends and everybody. So similarly, when someone feels very enthused in Krishna consciousness, then the natural thing of that is to share it with others, so that the joy increases like that. So okay, so we'll stop with this here. Just 1 minute.
Or or you have taken a vaccine to a disease like coronavirus, right? We want to share the medicine with others who are diseased.
Yeah, that's why Prabhupada says if we are practicing violence, if you don't relieve the suffering, if you have vaccine and you don't share it with others, then you allow others to suffer, then you're practicing violence, right?
Yesterday, I heard Srila Prabhupada's lecture, and he was talking about that words that Rishabdev was instructing his sons, Nayam Deho Deha Bhajan Loke Kastan Kamana Hate with Pujami. So in that words also say that, like, right, that you have awarded this human form of life is not working to um, hard work day and night for just to sense gratification, right, which is easily available for the lower species of the life. So one has to engage oneself to an austerity which is required for devotional service to attain the transcendental material happiness, right, for forever. So in that also, Srila Prabhupada is talking about that how this world is, running after the like economic development, industrialization, and making this. So why we are making all these, you know, eight-way, I mean, highways and running the cars are running from this side, that side, the big buildings, skyscrapers. The only goal is to the ultimate goal is sense gratification. So so he was talking about that, but this, if this is available for even animal life also, birds life also, everyone has the body, and according to their body, everyone has enjoying the four thing, right? Eating, meeting, sleep, mating, sleeping, and defending. So, what is the difference? And so, one has to think that the ultimate aim of life is not the simply sense gratification. Why we are taking so much trouble to get it if it is simply available? So, on that concept, he was telling about a story that um, uh, a couple, I think this story is mentioned in Bhagavatam also, that a person, a couple is there. There's a prostitute she is charging some kind of diamond pieces, a thousand of millions diamond pieces. She's charging if someone visit her, and there was a poor man, and he was diseased as well, but his wife is so chaste, and she is serving her husband with so much love, and she's always working because the person was diseased. Even he cannot work and he cannot fulfill or necessity of their family also. But he was that poor man and was always thinking about that prostitute, and he wanted to visit that, and his wife asked him that why you are so you are not happy, you are morose, and he disclosed his mind that he wanted to spend time with that lady, with that prostitute, and she is ready to that that I mean, she's ready to give that happiness to her husband, and she is working. She is serving that prostitute, so she can, give that, work for the. And then that prostitute also wanted to do something for that lady, and that lady says that, okay, my husband, he's diseased, he has no money, but he want to visit you. And then that prostitute understand what she's wanted to say, and then but then she said that she put food, vegetables and preparation in two pots, the same food, an iron pot and the golden pot, and then he served that food preparation to that man, and he says that what is the difference, and then he says that both of the taste the same food. So after then he said that how do you like, the prostitute asked him that how do you like, it is nice and but the same taste. So she wanted to say that you want to gratify your sense, uh, any is available, either a poor wife or rich wife is the same. So it's the same in, like animalistic life or bird life or human life, there are few things is same. So why we are so much making hard trouble for getting the sense gratification. And then he says that we have a very short human duration of life, so we have to utilize our time to attain the god realization, not the wasting the time for self and sense gratification. It says that because even a one moment of time life, moment of life we spent, and we cannot get it by spending a millions of gold coins. So it is a greater loss to spend our time uselessly. Like you were saying that previously the saints in India and the yogis, they don't even spend much time they don't even use soap to clean their body. They just take their bath in the river, and they spend their life on the bank of the river, and rest of the time they are just using uh, you know in chanting and hearing and meditating on the form of God. But now the same thing is like, we are spending so much time and energy on just on the name of the economic development, although the time is so valuable. So he was suggesting that one has to minimize their needs and not to increase their needs. So yeah, this is what he was saying, and I like that one, that is good that how we previously the our needs were less, so less we work, and in the less time and money, sorry, less money we can manage to things. But now things are expensive. We have to work hard, collect more, and then spend more. So these are all going on in a circle, and we're just spending life and time uselessly. So and also that we know that this is a rare human form of life. That's why human life is most glorious, because the human life is obtained by the mercy of the Lord, although we don't have any qualification to get this life. And so yeah, we should understand that this is life to achieve. And this is only possible only for a human, when we get this life, human form. Let's remind that first.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Okay. So we will read. Anybody has any comments? Anything else? So we'll read Sudama's pastime. I think we read few verses, right? Few paragraphs. Well, in here. In here. Uh,
Maybe we can read from the top.
all right, from here.
If you can zoom a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So we are starting the pastime of Sudama Brahman. King Parikshit was hearing the narrations of the pastimes of Lord Krishna and Lord Balram from Shukdev Goswami. These pastimes are all transcendently pleasurable to hear, and Maharaj Parikshit addressed Shukdev Goswami as follows. My dear Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the bestower of both liberation and love of God simultaneously. Anyone who becomes a devotee of the Lord automatically attains liberation without having to make a separate attempt. Because the Lord is unlimited, his pastimes and activities for creating, maintaining, and destroying the whole cosmic